All right. So, Adam, welcome to our segment of the day. Tell us what you have for us today.
Yeah, hi Lauren. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me back. Today I've got something really special for you, and I'm going to be talking about the most awe-inspiring place in the entire region. It is home to the oldest man-made artifacts in Lancaster County, and it is considered one of the most significant archaeological sites in the entire northeastern United States. And what I'm referencing is the petroglyphs, the mysterious petroglyphs of the Susquehanna River, specifically talking about the ones at Safe Harbor.
Oh, my goodness. Tell us what that means for the people who are not familiar with that word. What does that mean?
Excellent. Great question. So a petroglyph is basically a drawing made in stone. And so when we're talking about the Susquehanna River, those would have been made by Native Americans. And most experts think they're somewhere between 500 to 1,000 years old. But they're not really sure. And there's been indigenous people here in what we now call Pennsylvania for about 12,000. So they could easily be, much older than that, which is pretty exciting.
That is really neat. And to know that they are in Lancaster County, specifically in the Susquehanna Valley, we have such a treasure trove. And I'm so excited to have you here with us today to tell us a little bit about where we can find this, what we're looking for, and some more fun facts.
Yeah. So let me start off by saying like three fun facts about the Susquehanna River since we're talking about that. So one, it is the oldest major river system on the entire planet. It is somewhere between 250 and 550 million years old. It's older than the Appalachian Mountains that surround it. And just as a frame of reference, the River Nile in Egypt is only 30 million years old.
Oh
So I
my,
always think that's pretty crazy. And
yeah.
so fun fact number two, William Penn had this plan to create a new Philadelphia right here in Lancaster on the banks of the Susquehanna. And the port to this major city was going to be at Safe Harbor, which is pretty interesting, the same place where these petroglyphs are. It seems like a lot of people are kind of drawn to this area. Now, obviously, there is no New Philadelphia. And so what William Penn didn't know was fun fact number three, and that's that the Susquehanna is the longest non-navigable river in the United States. And so you can't get a boat of any real size very far, before you hit rocks or something. And so some kind of interesting facts there just about the Susquehanna where these petroglyphs are hidden.
That is so neat. That's something that I didn't know myself. And I'm sure people who are, purchasing boats and are trying to get them, back to where they live. This is important to know that you might not want to take your yacht or your charter cruise line up the Susquehanna.
I see some boats down there and I'm like, man, you are nuts. I mean, the only way to reach these petroglyphs is either by canoe or kayak. And I constantly, when I go out, I'm constantly, bunking rocks depending on the water level. And so there's like three main challenges to getting to the petroglyphs there at Safe Harbor. So one, like I said, you've got to have a kayak or a canoe. You're not just going to drive up and like walk over and take a look at it. So you're going to be out there, you got to fight the current, and it can be pretty serious depending on how much water is coming out of Safe Harbor Dam. And so, there's challenge number one. Challenge number two is just actually finding it. Like you can look on Google and people right now are probably, let me Google, these. And so, Big Indian Rock and Little Indian Rock are the name of the two places. And Google lists it, but spoiler alert, it's not right. It's not even close. I've been there looking for it. And I was like, oh, this isn't at all the right place. And so, you get out there on the Susquehanna River below Safe Harbor, and there are dozens of giant boulders, any one of which could be, Big Indian Rock and Little Indian Rock of where you're looking for. So, challenge two is just simply finding the correct rocks that you need to go and visit. Now, so, you get a kayak and you get out there and then you actually find the rock. The third challenge is actually like revealing the petroglyph, because if you're not careful, it's easy to just totally miss them. And so for that, you need a very special tool, and that's a sponge. And so you take a sponge and you wet it and you rub this wet sponge over the petroglyphs, and that reveals this carved image on the rock. And it's really neat. It's like a scene right out of, National Treasure, where Benjamin Gates is, revealing the secret images by using a wet sponge. And so that's always a really neat thing to go out there
Imaginary
and do that.
writing or invisible ink.
Exactly. And so, these are made by like prehistoric people. They don't have a written language. And so they are drawing the things that they see in their everyday lives. And so there's lots of animal tracks. There's bear and deer and turkey tracks. And then they're drawing actual animals. And so there's like a fox and a deer. There's a turtle. There's a couple snakes. They're drawing themselves. There's a person in a canoe, and there's another person holding a bow, and then a third person, holding a stick or a club or something like that. And so they're kind of drawing the things that they see in their everyday lives. But what's really cool about it is some people think, well, is it just like graffiti? There's no internet, there's no, cell phones or Xbox, 1,000 years ago. Like, what does a bored Native American teenager? Like, I don't know, go out and carve on the rock. But so it's not just senseless graffiti. And to prove that point, there's two clusters. And so one is these two squiggly lines. And so is it two snakes or is it a riverbank? We're not sure. But the cool thing about it is on the equinox sunrise, it lines up perfectly with those two squiggly lines. So the sun comes up and right on those two spots. And then just at a slightly different angle is a single squiggly line. So again, is this a smaller, body of water, like maybe the Conestoga, or is it just a single snake? But on the winter solstice sunrise and the summer solstice sunset, the sun rises and sets right there on those lines. And so, these are definitely made by a people that are very in tune with their environment and, are fully aware of the world going on around them, enough that they know like where the sun is going to be, on the equinox, on the solstice. And, these are important things to them, which is really cool, I think.
Do you feel that some of the stories or some of the carvings could be a storyline or them trying to write down their history as well?
It could be. There's a lot of theories on it. Some people think that it's a pretty significant location, so it could be like a marker of the territory. Like this is, where our boundary ends, and so if you come any farther, you're not. There's one where it looks like a snake, and it looks like it swallowed a turtle. And so does that mean like the snake tribe of Native Americans defeated the turtle tribe? Like that could be what that means. There's another one where there's a cluster of people, and they think that's sort of representing how far away basically like the Chesapeake Bay is. And so, it's two guys. And so that means it would take, 2 days of walking to get there. So maybe kind of a marker of how far to the next place to see. But you're down there on the Susquehanna, and you've got all these hills surrounding you. And again, there's would have been no lights back then. And so this perfect place to, see the constellations and to see the sun come up and the moon come up. And what I think is the neatest thing about it is when I go out there, and I've been out there a few times, and if you stand on the rock and look west towards York County, the view hasn't changed in 1,000 years. I mean, it's all forest. There's no power lines. You can't see any houses when you look directly in front of you. And in that moment, I think, wow, I'm seeing probably the exact same thing that one of our ancestors saw in this very spot. I mean, I know for a fact someone stood here hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago, and we're seeing the same thing. And, and in that moment, I feel connected to this person. I've never met them, but here we are in the same spot, looking west, into the sunset. And it's a neat experience that I'm like, wow, I know that this person was here just like I am. And maybe 1,000 years from now, more people are going to stand here and look west, and we're going to have this shared experience, which I think is really neat and amazing.
Well, I think history is so fascinating, but also, like you said, the connectivity piece, knowing that you are witnessing something that people years and years ago did, and people years from now will. That connectivity piece, more than ever during COVID, I think is such a valuable moment. So send people out there. Tell us a little bit more about this adventure that you want to send people on.
So yeah, we've got a treasure hunt coming up in March. It's going to be really exciting. And so I've partnered with the Historic Preservation Trust of Lancaster County, and in sometime mid to late March, we're going to start to release these locations, and you're going to be visiting one each week. So you've got all week to, complete the challenge for the week before the next week's location is revealed. And so it's going to be a great activity for you and your family to go out and visit not only these places that are historically significant, but also architecturally significant. So you're going to be all over the county. You know, I don't want to release or tell anyone anywhere where they're going yet, but all these really neat and exciting places that you're going to be able to do as a family, and and still be socially distant. And then at the end of those 6 weeks, you should have the GPS coordinates to figure out where the treasure is. Now there's a poem that's going to kind of help you zero in on that exact location, and then of course there's the painting there, which will be available on social media, that kind of helps you zero in there a little bit as to where that actual treasure is. And the winner's going to walk away with over $1,000 in $1 coins. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. March cannot get here soon enough.
Yes, well, I'm excited myself. My whole team here in the studio is rearing to go. We're counting down till March, but you have on your website a lot of different mini adventures that can tide us over, prepare us for the hunt that starts in March. And what do you find when you go on these mini adventures? Don't you have a little something that you leave at all these locations?
I do. So kind of as an incentive to go out and visit these historical places, there's some treasure at the end. Now it's not going to be real money, but we've got plastic, there's some plastic gold coins and some fake gems and a lot of 3D printed things that I've created, like little, keepsake medallions that kind of say what adventure you were on and in what you were doing. And so you get to walk away with a little bit of, swag there to add to your trophy wall of fun stuff. And, that's always neat. And I know a lot of kids enjoy doing that because there's this, prize waiting for them at the end of the adventure, which is always exciting.
Well, kids of all ages are always invited to do Adam's adventures. You can actually check out his adventures at his website. We'll put that up right now so you can check it out. On the next episode, Adam's going to be joining us. And Adam, do you have a teaser as to what you want?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So next time I'm going to be talking about the worst disaster in Lancaster County history. And it was when a dynamite factory exploded, killing, really vaporizing 11 men. So I'm going to tell you about that next time. I'll give you the history, and I'll tell you where you can go and actually see the site and location of where that's at.
All right, Adam, thank you so much for joining us. And I can't wait until next episode. See you then.
Thank you.